All right. Welcome back to A Lifetime of Conversations. Here we are again.
Yep.
It's like deja vu.
Vuja Day. This never happened before.
But today, our Vuja Day is something new. I wanted to talk about Polaris Dawn.
Oh, yeah?
Do you have any idea what Polaris Dawn is?
Yeah, that came right after Polaris Dusk, if I'm not mistaken.
The next day, which is funny because that's the third part of the mission. Polaris Dawn is it launched on September 10th at 5:23 a.m. And it's basically it's a privately crewed space flight operated by SpaceX on behalf of the Shift 4 CEO Jared Isaacman. Right. They were the ones that just went up right in the Dragon capsule.
The civilian spacewalk?
You had to say, I mean, it was big news.
Yeah, the civilian spacewalk?
Yes,
yes,
okay. The civilian spacewalk. That's correct. Right. And it's funny because, we look at it as civilian guy paid for it. It's like a free ride, and it's not. It's not a touristy thing at all. They did tons of experiments on top of not just what they did while they were there, but the shoots themselves. The capsule, the idea that they went higher. They broke all kinds of records. Yeah. Just doing this, but it was amazing. It was nice to watch, and they did the first. Well, we'll get to that, of course.
Well, the best thing about it, it's still cheaper than going to Disney World.
Yeah, these days,
Speaking of touristy.
They've definitely priced out families on Disney World. You have to save for years just for 5 days at Disney World. That's crazy. Yeah. And you can't stay there. Yeah. You have to find some shitty motel somewhere and sleep in your car or the beach just to afford the price. But you weren't wrong. This was the first part of a 3-part mission in the Polaris program, and I mean, I don't know if they announced them, but it's pretty much dawn, dusk, and then night, and I don't know if they're going with that theme, but whatever. Just what isn't a name,
Yeah, I guess whatever. Dawn, that could be palm olive.
Yeah. But it's really impressive. I've been following Isaacman with his SpaceX stuff for a long time because the guy's a billionaire too. I think his net worth is $1.6 billion too. But he's funding it himself, and they raise a lot of money for St. Jude's. A lot of they do a huge contributional pull for the for St. Jude's Hospital, which is great
charity. It's one of the best.
One of the better ones. At least if you're going to pick something that actually does something with the money that's good, you're like, well, okay, good. So there's that. But I did want to talk about the people on board because what most people get, I think let's say young people, right? The kids, what the most exciting part is these are normal people. They're not astronauts. Only one of them was in the Air Force. The others are regular people. They have jobs. Now, mind you, they have high-paying, high-end, high-technical type jobs, right. But it doesn't mean that they're any less people. When we think of an astronaut, it's almost like they're echeloned above people, right? Yeah. That's why they don't want to lose them in space. It's not because, well, yes, it's because we don't want to lose people in space, right? It's terrible terrible to lose people. They're expensive. They're some of the most expensive people on Earth. The training and the time and the effort and the money that goes into, making an astronaut available to do all the stuff they have to do at the ISS. They're expensive, right? But these are regular people. Jared Isaacman, he's an American entrepreneur. He's a pilot, a philanthropist, commercial, and which is a funny thing because
he cheats on his wife.
Huh?
He cheats on his wife. No, that's a philanderer.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought I got that right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he gives out money and stuff, right?
This
is something that goes on a resume.
Dinosaur?
Someone can actually put commercial astronaut on a resume now. That's not something that you, before YouTube was a thing, no one could put on a resume YouTuber.
Yeah.
You would have been laughed out of a job, right? But they're that guy who goes for some serious position is I got 5 million people who say otherwise, right? Now you look like a douche, but yeah, he's got commercial astronaut on his resume.
Yeah, but if somebody gave me their resume and it said astronaut, I'd be like, oh, fuck this guy. He's going to listen to me.
But I mean...
Yeah, I need that report on my desk by 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, excuse me, okay? I went to space. You don't get to tell me what to do. I'm like, yeah, okay. All right, Neil Armstrong.
So, he funded it. He's got lots of money, this guy. But he does... What's interesting about him is he's the founder of Drake International, which is a private Air Force provider, which is wild to think about. So he's basically like a Air Force mercenary group.
Like, yeah. And he makes ding
pay
dongs.
me and I'll protect your plane. I don't. Wow. Okay. And then some other stuff he made his money in, but he is a pilot and he's a serious guy when it comes to the work itself, and he's always the mission commander for the most part. Mm-hmm. But it's nice to listen to him because he's like real, like in a lot of ways. He's not like politically bullshitish when it comes to like the things that they do. Mm-hmm. But so there was 4 of them on there. And then the next one was Scott Poteet. I want to get his name right, but he's American retired Air Force pilot. He's about the only one that actually he was actually in the military, and he's the pilot for the program. And basically, I assume that like Isaacman hires, or brings on the people that that are most skilled. Mm-hmm. So that guy's the pilot, which is pretty awesome.
That's cool.
And this is the fun part. I mean, he's got the 2 females, right? Sarah Gillis, American SpaceX senior engineer, operations engineer for SpaceX. So these are employed by SpaceX, and obviously because, I don't know, it's a SpaceX ship.
Are they the stewardesses?
Right, I guess. Yeah. Well, how old are you?
Oh,
no. Back if we went back to the 1950s,
Get some hate mail for that one.
Men can't be nurses and men can't be stewards.
Well, you had a pilot, so so in my defense, please put your tray into the upright position.
But yeah, her and Isaacman, they both performed the first commercial spacewalk in history. This is really what it's about. It's about the milestones. It's about the idea that it's like, we're launching all this shit up there. Like, what do they do it for? They do it because to do it. It's like, well, why did we do anything in human history that we didn't have to? It's like they didn't question why they were building the pyramids, even though it was grueling work and it took 25 years. Mm. But they built them, and then look what we're doing. We're marveling and laser testing them because we don't want to open them up and try to figure out what they did and why they did.
Yeah, like when somebody first made a boat and said, I'm going to sail from this island to that island. Why?
Yeah.
Well, because one day we're going to explore the world.
Yeah. Or like, I don't know, we're running out of fruit trees over here, so let's see what's over there. There doesn't have to be a why. There just has to be a, wow, you did, right? Yeah. And then pretty much pick it apart, which is great. That's the part I like.
Like if somebody throws an egg at your house, then you can be like, all right, why did you do that?
Well, if it's a kid, there doesn't have to be a reason.
Sure, it's a milestone. Gives you the finger and runs away.
So, there was Sarah Gillis, and the other one was Anna Menon. And Anna Menon, same thing, American SpaceX engineer employed by SpaceX. She was the lead SpaceX operations manager and mission director. She also, I think, assumed the role as onboard medical officer, which I guess, even with a little bit of training or any kind of, if even having an EMT on a spaceship is better than not having,
absolutely.
Right? They don't have to be a doctor, but you just simple triage. But they performed all kinds of cool experiments and just simple stuff. They went through the Van Allen radiation belt, which again, they flew higher than any person ever in all of human history, even higher than the moon at this point. Or maybe other than the moon. I don't know if the moon is definitely higher, but when it comes to it, other than the moon, they flew higher than any other person. It's like twice the distance from the ISS.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's actual real space. It's not.
Well, yeah, whatever we consider, like it's not like the low Earth orbit. It's very high up there.
Gotcha.
But it passes through the Van Allen belt. So now they're doing, as passing through, they run all their tests on what the effects are on the human body, what the effects are on new technologies. And that's the thing too, we don't think about it as like when we went to these, like the moon is a good example. It was a long time ago. Technology was totally different. Now they got touch screens and all kinds of transmitters and processors and microchips and microprocessors. Who knows what effect the radiation will have in this component in this ship until we figure this stuff out.
All right.
So yeah, it was really cool. It was fun to watch. And I have to be honest, I wish you had seen it because I think it was Sarah Gillis, right? I have to double check. Yeah, she played the violin in space. And this was interesting because I love when they bring up their instruments. I really do. I think, trumpet in space is not going to really be the greatest thing. I think that would be fucking annoying as hell.
No,
especially crammed into a tiny little thing. The capsule's like smaller than this room. Yeah. So I mean, at this point, you're gonna
kill somebody.
Can you put a mute on there?
Hey, you guys want to hear a song? No.
But she played. I forget what score it was from Star Wars, but it was one of the popular, powerful scores, right?
It's probably
but
the
this is the
theme.
interesting part. I think there was a few things that were interesting. So she takes the violin up, but they had to do all kinds of. They had to take that violin and put it into a pressure chamber, because if we made this violin on Earth, no one, the guy who made it, the company, the factory, no one said, "Hey, can I take that to space?" Like that wasn't something they thought about. And when they said it, I'm like, why would they do it? Because they were worried like pieces like varnish during the vacuum of space might crack and break off and float into components. And I'm like, I never really thought about it. So you have to like test. Her violin had to go into a vacuum chamber to make sure it was going to work. It wasn't that it was going to work like as a musical instrument. It was just the fact
Survive.
that it was going to survive. It could have expanded because of expansion, and it's made of wood, right? So it does have different properties of metal when it comes to stuff like this. I'm like, yeah, see that they're doing experiments on things that they didn't think of, until they had to think of.
And she gets up in space. Oh, you guys are not going to believe this. What? I forgot my fucking bow.
Right? The whole time.
Pluck.
She's just like pulling strings.
All right, guys, this is going to be pizzicato, this next piece.
But on top of, plenty of people have played instruments in space. What was his name? Played that famous fucking Bowie song.
Space Oddity?
Yeah, Space Oddity, which was amazing, and probably was one of the forebearers of the popularization of the ISS and getting people to, enjoy it and understand what's going on. As she was playing the score, there was like, I don't know how many in total, but there must have been 30 or maybe more different, I guess, groups of people around the world playing the same thing at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Uganda, America, South America, Russia, like all different parts of the world. There was a brass section. There was a flute, the percussion. No, they weren't no percussion. It was each one had a different ensemble of musical instruments, and they played their part of the score she played.
I've seen videos like that before. They've done stuff like that.
And you think about it, it's kind of cool because she did this from space.
Yeah.
Right? So you got to think, like, and this is where we talk about global politics and how we're all intertwined. They did this together. Like, across the world, people got together and played the same thing someone was playing in space.
Yeah. Well, see, that's what normal people do.
Well, yeah.
Crazy people steal all of our money and then kill each other.
Yeah, I guess I don't think they're crazy. I just think they're the other side of people, right? Like, so people have two sides of a coin, just like, because I don't think there's good or bad. I just think that there's a chance to be either or, and some people have less of that chance or not, right? But I think when I was like listening to the score, it was amazing to see them jump to each different group of people around the world coming together to, I guess, unify in music and science. Like, music came long before science, right? Dancing came probably hand in hand with music along human history.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know exact, but suppose like when the caveman banged two rocks together and made a fire. That, to him, that's science.
Well, yes, but even before that, like, I think tribal dancing and music it was part of a culture, even if it was a song that was told as a story that became history, right, before it was written. But I just still like to see when people get together, like,
it's nice.
Collaborate musically.
Yeah, and being a musician, I love that.
I know. I thought you would, because I was really moved by it. I'm not a big Star Wars guy. I don't even know what I don't know what the score was. I recognized it.
Yeah,
No, it wasn't the main one. No? It was a secondary one, like some other one you've heard.
Oh,
but
probably wasn't the Imperial March. Probably.
I don't remember. And like I said, I'm not a Star Wars fandom guy, so I couldn't put it together. But
I'll look it up. That sounds neat.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. It was that part was really interesting, and it's a lot. They did all kinds of stuff, and they had they had like microsonogram devices they were testing in space, and all kinds of different stuff. But the milestones. So the biggest part is, like I said, the final step of the mission was to perform the spacewalk, and they did the spacewalk, which was amazing. These suits are pretty badass, because you ever watch, like, NASA has the EVA suits NASA uses they're actually considered spacecrafts themselves, like the suit, because it has the air, right? It has the oxygen, the temperature control, right? All these things in it, and I think even some of them have mobility control. They have the ability to, like, use thrusters to move gases in space, right? But it's a gigantic suit. It's like that, it's like the power armor in Fallout. It's like that. They get in and they need help. And these SpaceX suits are simple. Like, they get in, they zipper up, they pretty much, they look like a normal spacesuit, like something you'd see from like some sci-fi movie. And not only do they look good, but they're functional. This was a test.
Yeah.
Crazy part is that the Dragon capsule is a very small thing. It doesn't have like a secondary airlock. It just opens up the top and there's space, right? So they had to basically expose all of them to the vacuum of space to get 2 of them to pop their head up into a spacewalk. And if you think about it, this is why I mentioned about the astronauts being expensive. It's like, that's dangerous. Like, you have
Hell yeah, that's dangerous.
You have a prototype suit on top of non-professional, I guess, governmental astronauts testing this new technology.
Guinea pigs.
Well, yes.
That's what they
because pretty much any test pilot in the military is a guinea pig. When they're like, test out this new plane. Guinea pig, right? Highly trained guinea pig,
But guinea
crazy,
pig nonetheless.
But, guinea pig
nonetheless. The people that invented it, like, I can't wait to try this. Second.
Yeah. I can't.
Hey, who wants to go to space?
Even when you listen to like professional, like let's say astrophysicists or professional engineers, are always like, "Would you try this? Would you do this?" And they're like, "Maybe the third time."
Yeah.
Right. There's always like even past second there because they realize that there's gonna be.
You can get lucky the first time.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, you heard Tito Jackson died? Yesterday? Michael's brother.
Oh, I did not.
You said spacewalk, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, Michael Jackson did the moonwalk, and I thought about Michael Jackson and Tito's brother Tito.
Oh, I mean, sad, but a weird correlation that you went from spacewalk to moonwalk.
Oh, I went even
hey,
deeper
by the
than
way,
that.
Tito Jackson died. Okay. I did not, and we can tangent. I don't care. Did he? Is it a big deal? Is he old? Did he die for good reasons? Is there a good way to die? Like a normal way to die?
There's a great way to die. All right, guys, we're going to open up this capsule and do a spacewalk. Let's see how this goes. Yeah, oh boy. Man, the vacuum of space. Hey, I've seen your lady's house. This will be the first time you've ever been exposed to a vacuum. Shut up, asshole.
Yeah, their spacewalk was because they were testing the mobility of suits. So the wrist, the movements, the arm movements. Because when you watch spacewalks from the ISS, like you feel bad for them. They have to they look goofy trying to do all kinds of serious stuff. And all they're really doing is usually ratcheting, opening, replacing. It's not like they do fine, they're not soldering in space. It's difficult.
Right.
But
they look like you and I used to look like in the winter when we had 8 jackets on and we were waddling down the street to school.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't bend your arms. If you fall over, you're like a turtle on its back.
You're done unless you have a buddy that'll pick you up after he laughs at you. For
Which honestly is a lot of space. You're done if you don't have a buddy to help you out.
Yeah.
That pretty much can be said for probably about 50% of everything they do in space.
Right, and then you have the Russian there. Oh, look, little American need help, huh? Who won Rocky IV? Who won? Rocky won. Try again. Who won? Drago, now help me up.
That's the only, still to this day, that's the only part of the collaboration with Russia that still is cordial. Like I said, I've talked about it before. The astronauts, they're astronauts. They don't care. They're like, all right, we have to put this aside. It doesn't matter.
They're not worried about a hockey game. This is serious business.
Right, we got shit to do. Our station's falling apart, and we're gonna trash it in 5 years.
And he left toilet seat up again.
So the milestones, and I wanted to touch on the milestones because this is the part where, again, I notice most people always go, well, I don't understand, why are they doing this? And it's like, going back to why not, right? Number one, because they can afford it. Number one, you'd do all kinds of stupid shit if you had extra money, and someone would go, "Why did you do this?" Just because you could, right? But the milestones was the biggest part. So the women have been the least recorded for space, right? Because there's much more, not so much anymore, but as it was before.
It was male dominant.
Yeah, it was, as was most things.
Sure.
And it's funny because women do better in space, just from size and actually biologically they handle space better. But Sarah Gillis became the youngest person to ever spacewalk, which they call it a spacewalk, but it really wasn't what we deem spacewalk. Like when they spacewalk on the ISS, they actually leave it, and they're of course tethered,
Right.
but they walk along the outside of the giant ISS. All they did in the SpaceX was pop their head out, and it's funny because they added like a little railing to the top, and they called it the Skywalker.
Oh my God.
And he has to come up with really fun names for things so that people go, "Oh, you mean the railing?" He called like the
Skywalker. Like Luke Skywalker.
I guess. I mean, I
Star,
don't,
yeah.
I don't really know their angle, but sure. But they just popped their head out. Like he didn't float in the middle of the void of the space. They just popped their head out. And again, it was mostly just a test, but the view was amazing. They did it right when the sun was going. There was 2 shifts. It's every 45 minutes, but they only had one giant chance. Isaac went, and then the sun is going down and it's crossing, and it was an amazing view.
I'm gonna have to look at the video.
It's like one of the most popular pictures on the internet right now because like it is a really good view. It's a silhouette of him, looking at the Earth, and so
Wow.
that's a big milestone. The fact that again these were commercially made spacesuits in a commercially made spaceship with commercially hired people, out there doing stuff without any governmental regulations, and bullshit and all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
Yep. So they broke a record for the most people exposed to the vacuum of space at the same time. So 4 people. That's the most people that's ever been. Again, I think that was one of the biggest milestones because you got to imagine when that thing popped, like each one of them had to be thinking like any one of those suits could have been faulty, even though they go through rigorous testing, of course, through vacuum chambers and all that. It doesn't matter. You're taking all of them and exposing them at the same time. They could have all died. They could have, and we would have learned something from it. Not to do that again, but it all worked out pretty good. So that was a good one. One of my favorites is, as a caveat, it was the most people in space of all time. So at that point, when they were up there, there was 19 people in space, which I think the previous record was 14 or 15.
Oh, so including the ISS and them all together out in
ISS,
space.
the Chinese space station, the Russians, and SpaceX, 19 people. So again, this is where we're going to start breaking records when we eventually get to places like bases on the moon and new space stations, commercially made things. I mean, it's decades away from all kinds of things, but that number is just going to keep going up, and there's going to be more people and more people. And then there's going to be a point where there's just like an ISS on the moon where there's a permanent presence, or something like that. Whether it's us or China, it's going to be someone. I mean,
That's so creepy because I look at my 4-year-old niece and I'm like, her granddaughter might be one of the first people to come.
and that's the thing. They don't have to be an astronaut. So you can say, I want to be an astronaut when I grow up. You don't have to be.
Big deal. Everybody's
You have to be
an
smart
astronaut.
and you
Go
got
to
to
your
be
room.
trained and you got to do all kinds of crazy physical shit. But it doesn't mean you have to be a governmental astronaut. It means that you could be an engineer, a doctor. Fuck yeah, they're going to need doctors in space. I think
Sure.
they're definitely going to need trained doctors in space. Or anything, nurses or electricians, mechanics,
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, at this point, like my kid, nah, not so much, but yeah, your niece, definitely the age where that could be a possibility, a training or a schooling that might exist in her future that doesn't exist right now.
Right. Oh my God. I can't wait till they need comedians in space.
Someone's arguing out there they don't really need comedians anywhere, but
I think comedy is crucial. All right, guys. So
I know,
a
but
cyborg.
we get it anyway. Like you can't stop comedy, so we don't need to go to space to. They'll just put like a backdrop on a green screen and be like, do like a data show. Like we're going to Ronnie Chang in space. And he's like, I'm in space.
Oh God, I'm gonna start thinking of some good comedy club names for space.
But yeah. So and then after that, 5 days later, the mission. They came back on September 15th. They splashed down safely in the Gulf of Mexico. I watch it all. I watch those. To me, are the milestones. Like I don't watch every SpaceX launch anymore because it's like, oh,
There's so many of them now.
Yeah, it's like every month, and actually, some of them I can actually physically see from my job.
Yeah.
Even though it's 300 miles away from the launch pad at Kennedy, you can still see the rocket at night.
Especially where you are, it's so
Yeah,
dark
yeah,
out
it's
there.
open, and you got a lot of. If there's no
Light pollution or anything.
yeah, it's much. It's oh my god, it's almost impossible to miss it. Yeah, just a ball of fire in the sky, and it's like nothing, and it's going up.
Yeah.
At least it's like people, when you look at something coming down, get worried.
Yeah.
And then, how big is it? Because like it'll dissipate quickly, and you'll know if you're in danger.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Very cool.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
I don't know if I would go up on one yet. Would you?
No,
No. Okay. Yes.
Why?
It's just, yeah. Exactly.
But like this is the thing. Like okay, and again, I'm being a layman. What do you need me for? Why am I there?
I don't know.
It would be a waste. To send.
No. But I'm saying. I mean, if like you just had like $1 billion and you wanted, I'm gonna go up.
Okay, but if I had $1 billion, I would train myself to be useful and then go. But at
I'm just
that
saying,
point,
just in fantasy, I mean, would you have the okay? This is my real question. Would you have the faith that you would return?
well, these days, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So I mean,
in
if you had
technology
the
and what
opportunity,
we've done, sure.
if you won a contest, we're gonna take an average Joe and out of
Well,
everybody.
they tried
in the
that.
world.
They were doing the Dear Moon project, but that totally failed. The Japanese guy who was backing it with SpaceX, he was going to send up like 8 people, and they were going to be like artists. He wanted to send artists up so they could get a different perspective on the Earth and see it, and it all crash and burn.
Oh, it did. Did they all
Yeah.
die?
No, the deal crashed and burned.
Oh.
They didn't actually get anywhere. Yeah. Yeah, so that was unfortunate. But one of the guys I watch every day, astronaut, he was chosen, and he's a big YouTube astronaut guy. He does a lot with the rockets and information. They're great videos. But it's unfortunate. He was just, you're just a creator, But I don't find that necessary. Like, we're not there for that yet. Like, you got the vomit comet. That's about as close as you're going to get. Where they take you up on that plane and they drop you and you get, like, 0G for 30 seconds.
That would be fun. I would do that.
Sure. I mean, but I'd throw up the whole time. I get seasick on a fucking boat with small listing. So, at that point, I'd much rather let the people handle it. But I'm too old at this point. If you went back 25 years, maybe my mind would change. But I just find all of the innovation and the science fascinating. Like what they're going to do with this. What is this going to lead to? That's really how I look at all of this stuff.
Eventually, more war. Probably.
I think the war is always inevitable. But the fact that we went to space was not. That was a choice. Like there wasn't a point in history 150 years ago where they were like, we're going to space, right? They would have been laughed out.
I'm not,
right? But they're going to war. That has definitely been a term that has been around since I think humans were humaning.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like I like the stuff that we can create that doesn't lead to war, or at least take your mind off war for a little while, or the politics or the bullshit.
Yeah. What is
crap.
it good for? Absolutely nothing. Oh,
And actually, I think just recently he got Starship got delayed because he wanted to. They were cleared for the test flight for the really big spaceship Starship, and the last one didn't blow up. It landed in the ocean. Like everything went the way it was supposed to, which is the first time because all the other ones blew up. That's how it works. But they changed it where he wants to catch it with chopsticks, the giant like arms. He wants to catch them, and they were just like, well, you didn't. They put it in last in the plan, and this is a really big thing. Honestly, even Elon's like percentages, they're like, well, what do you think? What are your chances of it working? He's like 50%. Like, ooh, that's a rough number. It's a coin flip.
Yeah.
And a coin flip could end heads 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
Right? And then
Sure.
There's like we know it's 50-50, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have a heavier hand on one side just by probability.
Right.
But that's a little too high. But I've been waiting for Starship for so fucking long. We all want to see this thing. Just
So
do something.
in the case of them trying to catch it with that device, the 50% it works, and if it doesn't work, it's peril.
well, yeah, because you have to imagine they're catching the booster. So the bottom of the ship. Now all the other boosters, like the Falcon 9s and the Falcon Heavies, they land like with landing legs. The legs come down and the rocket lands, and we're all still marveled by this. It's my favorite
There's no
part.
parachutes anymore.
No. There's rockets. We use rockets, the retro rockets on the bottom, and very sophisticated computer systems that know trajectories and angling and all that is what enables them to stop. Now that's usually proprietary. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that all their software is proprietary. Sure. But the Starship's too big for that. They can't build landing legs. The legs would be the size of like cranes. That thing is huge. It's like it's giant. It's the biggest rocket ever built. So he wants to catch it. but they put these like little clamps at the top, and it has to imagine as this thing comes down from the atmosphere at the screaming speed that they slowed it down, they have to now catch it where it took off. It took off at the same place, right? And they're gonna catch it. But if it hits the pad, it's gonna blow everything up.
Yeah,
I mean,
they'll all
like
be dead.
blow everything up. That thing was big. None of them exploded catastrophically on the pad, except for one, and it wasn't that bad, But yeah, this is a big deal, Because otherwise, how are you gonna get this thing down? They're not building legs for it. Different for the moon, right? You can put it in space. You can send one up and leave it there, right? And then maybe they could turn it into a temporary space station type thing where they could dock to it. They could pressurize the inside of it. They could do all that stuff. But that thing ain't never coming back unless they have a way to catch it. Yeah, it's a process where people, if you don't follow it, you have to really, it's hard to understand because it's ridiculous. It's a giant thing.
Wow.
Huge, biggest thing ever. But anyway, we'll see. So there you go. Here's our space news for the week.
Yeah.
I found that fun. Even Blue Origin, they didn't send the astronauts back. Did you hear that? I mean, that was big news.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They decided against it, and it did make it back with no problem. So if they had sent the astronauts back, I think it's called Starliner,
They would have been okay.
they would have been okay. But again, that's the idea that they don't ever want another space problem like the Apollo and Challenger, and they don't want that to happen. So if they can say, you know what, there's been too many issues, we're just going to leave them. But what that does is that it left them. They were Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
They went up on a 3-hour tour, and it ended up 8 days is how long they were supposed to be there, and now they're there for 8 months.
Yeah.
But better than being dead.
Yeah,
I guess.
I guess.
And plus, they don't care. They're astronauts. Like, you mean I get to stay in space longer?
Yay, this is so much
I know when
fun.
people I love the news reports. They crack me up. Astronauts stuck in space. They're not stuck in space. They can get back if they had to. But we would have to rely on either the Soyuz or the Dragon. There's no other way to get them back.
Yeah.
If Blue Origins doesn't work, And I don't, and that's the thing. I'm not company driven when it comes to space. I want to see them all succeed. We need lots of ways for this to work. Because you can't just put all your eggs in one basket. What if something catastrophic happens? It has to be that we have this kind of ability. But yeah, it was a big deal because what they do is they kick off. They were going to send up 4 people on the Dragon capsule that's going to pick them up in February of 2025, which, we say February, it's not that far away.
Yeah, a few months.
Right. But they had to kick 2 people off that were supposed to go up just so that they could have room to put 2 more people on,
Yeah.
and it makes a difference. Actually, I think they kicked off 2 of the I don't remember who, but they left the one Russian and then one American for the transport.
Man, they should have brought a copy of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. They could have told him how to get home.
Oh, that's it's funny you said that. On the back of the seats in the Dragon capsule, he has a Danger 1.51 21 gigawatts
Oh, yeah.
from Back to the Future, and it's like clear as day, like perfectly out there. Like I love that kind of stuff because you know how he is. He loves Hitchhiker's Guide. His whole ideas are based off of these books that I guess it's what we would have considered science fiction again, which a lot of people, smart, amazing, talented people made science fact. Like even touch screens and when we think of these things, cause I think of all watching the old systems and they got these little levers and switches and blinking red lights and buttons and they're pushing and there's a million of them. Right, and now you look at it; it's 3 touch screens, and they're just doot doot doot, and they're only checking. Excuse me, folks. I apologize. They're just checking. They're not actually. They could manually fly it, but they wouldn't even fly it with a joystick. They'd fly it with doot doot little touch screens, pushing buttons.
Excellent.
Yeah, pretty good. So there you go.
All right.
There's that's everything I've got for you this week. On this one.
Oh, well, what goes up? All right.
Sometimes stays up.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what? I want a tangent on one thing. I have a question for you, and this is more because they'll do what they do anyway. So the ISS, in 2030. I'm not sure if it's 2030 or 35. It's probably 30. It's being decommissioned.
Right, we talked
Okay.
about that.
Right. Yeah. No, they're gonna. What they want to do is they're gonna deorbit it. Obviously, I'm pretty sure they take off everything relevant that they could out of it, right? But most of it, it looks the way it does, and I watched something recently. It looks the way it does because they've just layered upon layered years of technology. So all those wires and crap you see cluttering it, like they couldn't take out and redo. They had to just add on top. So whenever they put like a new system in, they just put it on top of the old system. So it ended up, that's why it looks like that. So they're going to decommission it. They're going to basically, SpaceX has been hired to kill the ISS with a special Dragon capsule with extra thrusters to push it into a decelerating orbit, a death orbit. And they'll pick somewhere over the Pacific and just drop it into the ocean. $1 trillion. $1 trillion just dropped in the ocean. Now, there have been propositions where people have said we should push it into a very high orbit, right?
And leave it there.
And leave it there for either historical value or a future time when we have gotten this down pretty good, the space stuff, and we can go do something with it.
It could be a museum.
Right. They would love that if we could actually get the pieces down. Sure, that would be amazing.
It could be a museum in space.
Maybe that, right? But this is what I was saying.
It could be an Airbnb.
Airless B&B?
Yeah, well, there you go.
Vacuum B&B? But what do you like? Does it matter to you? I know you're not a space guy.
Well, I mean, what I said before. I mean, if it's up in a higher orbit, it's not going to hurt anybody. Or you could just put rockets on it, shoot it at 1,000 miles an hour into deep space, and it'll be just gone forever.
Yeah, but they won't do that. I don't. I mean,
yeah.
just the sheer logistics of it. What if it hits something? What is
it?
Trajectories?
It's not going to hit anything for thousands of years.
Yeah. And then maybe it'd be like that same angle of what if something picks it up and learns all that tech. I don't know. I just think that
anything that's going to pick it up in the middle.
If they were going to do that, they would just put it in a higher orbit and leave it there at that point. But
what I think they really should do is tell all the astronauts that we're going to decommission it, we're going to crash it into the ocean, and then all the astronauts hide except for one. They play a joke on him, and he thinks that all the other guys escaped except for him. And then they start playing over the speakers. ISS being decommissioned. Boom! It's descending to Earth. He's screaming, and then Ashton Kutcher comes out and goes, "Ah, motherfucker!" They fly him all the way up there, just for that. Oh, Ashton Kutcher, you're not funny. Of course, they'd have to play the joke on the Chinese guy.
Chinese don't have to worry. They have their own space station.
Yeah, but they have funny sense of humors like that. So
That's what I was thinking. I was like, well, it would have maybe Japanese guy. But.
Oh, Mr. Kutcher.
I was just curious because I don't really get to talk to a lot of people who enthusiasts about space. Like
if they put it up into a higher orbit until they figure out a way to get everything down here safely, just for the fact that you and I could walk into it as
posterity,
a museum, that would be cool.
Yeah, I don't think that's ever going to be a possibility. The idea that you're talking about something the size of a football field.
Yeah, but I mean, it would take a long time to get it down. Eventually, piece by piece. But then again, you said it's impossible. You said 100 years ago, it's impossible to go to space.
Well, that's where I was thinking. Like, I mean, they're gonna do what they do anyway. Yeah. Like they decided if NASA says we're gonna throw it in the ocean, that's it. Yeah. I don't really think there's enough public appeal that's gonna stop them from doing it.
No, they don't.
But I do like the idea of let's put it in the attic, which would be a higher, and we'll worry about it later. And maybe when we get to space mining and we've learned really cool techniques on how to do stuff, maybe there is a chance, But I was just curious because, I like to think what people think about it. It's like nobody really cares. They're like, yeah, but it's 5 years from now. They got plenty of stuff to do.
Do you know what I would do? I would put it on eBay, and I would sell it for $100 million
on eBay.
And then some idiot would give me $100 million, and I'm like, all right, it's all yours.
Yeah. No, it's like those people that buy a star.
Yeah.
I want to slap them. I like the idea, okay? It's a fun idea.
Yeah,
you bought nothing.
No.
Even if they said to you, here's your deed, you own this, it's 47 light years away.
Right, and it might not even exist anymore.
We can't get 1 light year anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? So you're going to hold on to this deed to the star? And who said this was yours? That guy over there?
Right.
What if that star has 4 planets on it, and one of those planets is inhabited by people. Don't you think they own that star?
Oh, now we're gonna start some intergalactic shit
Right?
here.
But this is what I'm saying. Do we own our star? We don't own it, but we say this is our sun, right? Because we
are we its dad? If it's our
Well,
son?
I mean, yeah, maybe not that kind of sun, but you know what I'm saying.
I know.
But yeah, that's ridiculous, that kind of stuff.
But you know what? People will sell. I mean, I could, go to the store right now. Stars for sale. Get your stars here. You want that one up there? You got it, kid. Rustle his hair. What do you want to name it? I want to name it Jeffrey. Jeffrey it is. Give me $10.
Name it anything better than what like the government names it. Like NASA has the worst names, and like astrophysicists, when they like name stuff, they're like, "This is B4297642," and you're like, just it wouldn't be that difficult to come up with different names.
See, I already have a great name for Star.
Little parentheses and
I
throw a name
would
in
call,
there.
I would call it Twinkle Twinkle Little. That's it.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very original, Robert.
it is.
You said we need comedians. Is that what you're
I'm
saying?
not being funny, Dick. This is not a joke. Twinkle Twinkle Little.
It's funny. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there you have it, folks.
All right, yeah, that's about it. Now, if anybody has any questions or comments, if they are intelligent, please email them to us at lifetimeofconversations.
Hell, even if they're not intelligent, we'll take anything
Yes,
we can get.
and if you are interested in buying Twinkle Twinkle Little, it's currently for sale.
He's selling it along with the ISS 2-for-1 deal. It's all yours.
Yeah, bundle them.
Delivery not included.
Yep, go get it yourself. Some astronaut assembly may be required.
Astronaut assembly. All right, everybody, thanks for listening to A Lifetime of Conversations, and we will see you next time.
Peace.